All right. So, Muf, how long has the Tbreak website been up now? The new and renewed Tbreak website. It's been what, like
It's been,
a year and a half?
no, it's the new one. It was like 1 month, 2 months, right, Abbas?
What? No,
When we
not new,
changed
new,
the
new.
theme,
I'm talking when the theme, design, everything changed. That's been like
the
what, at
old,
least.
we
Yeah, one
relaunched
two
it.
months
Yeah.
ago.
Which one?
We
So we
did.
relaunched Tbreak early 2023.
Okay,
Then we
there we
just
go.
did a design tweak a month
That's
and a
fine.
half ago.
That's fine. And Muf, how long did it take you to find out that we have a light and dark mode on the website? How
Uh,
bad did you think we
yeah,
were? This whole
yeah.
thing.
I think Moof's brain switched off because what I did was I changed the default theme from light to dark. So previously
Yeah.
the default
Ah,
theme used to be light. Now the
Fair.
default theme is dark.
Fair enough. Anyway,
Yeah.
for those wondering, the team chatting here is Team Tbreak. This is the Tbreak podcast, One Shot. We named it that because we deal with everything from tech to gaming to movies, entertainment, hopefully food soon, rating co-working spaces. We basically just do anything we want.
I
And
think we
Abbas,
also need to add AI to this now.
and we should add
mm,
AI to this because
Yeah.
that is the theme of today's episode. I'm joined by my colleagues Sam, Abbas, and Mufaddal. Hi, guys.
Hello.
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 Good to have everyone. And let's jump right in because last week was huge for AI. I think, in my opinion, it brought AI very, very close to being somewhat daily. Let's put it that way. Not just that gimmicky thing you're keeping an eye on. So first in line was ChatGPT, and they launched 4.0. Who all saw the launch or are updated about what's going on here?
I've seen the videos.
Yeah.
Yep. Saw
Yeah.
that too.
Sam, initial thoughts.
Really impressive, especially with the speed. That was like wow
Yeah.
for, and especially also with the live translation. I thought that was
Right.
some fantastic stuff.
Move.
Very impressive, but those are, I won't be impressed until like everyone has it and has tried it, because those are very contained demos, right?
Right.
So once everyone
Mm.
has it, like for live translation, I want to see all languages, speeds, accents,
Right.
so
Yeah.
we'll see. But from what they
Basically, what
showed,
sorry,
yeah,
basically what you're saying is I can go to the garage and translate with my mechanic, and it works
yeah,
flawlessly. Exactly.
exactly,
Fair.
precisely that.
Fair. So, Abbas, then you tell me. First and foremost, for those listening or watching who don't know what we're talking about, ChatGPT brought about 4.0. The idea here is that 4.0 is the new, highly optimized free version of ChatGPT. What they showed was extremely impressive. They showed a bunch in their presentation, and then post there was stuff on the website which showed the potentials. And like these guys said, there was translation, there was stuff to do with education, where there was tutoring, there was language translations, there was help with coding, just the usual AI shebang. So, Abbas, what did you think of the whole launch and the product itself? Because I think you're the only one among us who has access to it right now.
So to me, the most important bit of it was the emotion they've managed to add to the voice, where
Okay.
it's not, you don't feel like you're talking to a computer anymore. You actually feel like there is someone on the other side that you're talking to. It's unbelievable. It's just, I mean, that to me is the most impressive bit of what they showed.
Right.
They'll obviously have multiple voices and stuff at launch, and we'll go into details with that later.
Yeah.
But I think that was the most impressive bit to me. Now, ChatGPT 3.5 was available for free for most users.
Okay.
4 was a paid service. 4.0 will be a free service based on ChatGPT 4, available
Right.
for everyone.
So, just to clarify,
Yeah.
3.5 was free?
Yeah, 3.5 was
Okay.
free, 4.0 was paid.
Okay.
Now, the version of 4.0, which is optimized by 4.0,
No,
it's
no, no.
very
Let's
confusing as far as the naming is
let's
concerned.
let's just stop saying O for zero. Let's say 4.0,
Okay.
right?
4.0 was a paid platform.
Right.
4.0 is going to be a free optimized version of the
Okay.
4.0 platform, basically.
Yeah,
I
fair. I mean,
thought there
this
was
is
some. Sorry, I thought there was something there as depending on what functionality you want from it, it's then free. So if you're using it from like I think a text-based standpoint, it's free, but then if you want to integrate images or video or something, then there was the paid element.
I didn't catch up on that. So this
Not
is
sure.
a multimodal. Basically, you'll have video,
yeah.
audio, and
Yeah, yeah,
text
yeah.
through it. I thought all of this. So maybe what they might do is that you also have the ChatGPT app on your iPhone or Android or now Mac OS as well,
Right.
Hmm.
which you can buy a subscription for $20 a month,
Mm-hmm.
and that might. So I have a paid subscription for it, which is why I had access to ChatGPT 4.0 on the app, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to roll out to everyone. However, the vision and the sound quality were not available for me either. I think those will be rolling out in
Rolled
the
out
next few
slowly.
months or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I
But yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think
You know,
that
see the
Chad. I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead,
no, that's
Abbas.
okay. That's it. I was just gonna say that video that we're seeing in the background where he's pointing his camera to equations and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's crazy good.
It really is. I think ChatGPT, what they want to do, or rather, let's say OpenAI, what they want to do is that I think they were like, you know what? Let's give 4.0 out as far as possible, make it as extensively usable as possible, because
Hmm.
anything after this, people will pay for. Right. So, for example, with 3 and 3.5, I was already teetering on the edge of should I pay, should I not pay? And then I canceled my subscription. But with 4.0, I'm already assured that, like, I know it. I literally had the conversation today in the morning with my wife that I think we'll get a shared chat GPT account because both of us use it that much. Um, I, I'm more excited about the quicker thought processes and the quicker sort of ease of access because if I can merge this to another conversation, we had earlier discussed that Nothing launched their new earbuds with ChatGPT integration, and I tried it a bit. And I thought it was phenomenal as a little assistant in your ear. And Nothing has now announced that 4.0 is going to be available on all their earbuds across the board. I think that that is what the aim was from OpenAI's perspective, that like, let's just get it into everyone's hands so that it becomes just a tool that you have on hand. And after that, payment is easy. Like, I
Hmm.
think they took a hit on this one, which is why there's a bit of confusion. Like, why'd you pay for 4 if 4.0 is so good and so on and so forth? I think that's where the whole confusion stands.
I think they just wanted to kill all the hype that Google I/O was supposed to generate 2 days later. So
Fair.
let's just get ourselves
Not
out the
even
door
2 days,
before
was it?
Google
I think
I/O
it was the
launches.
next day.
It's just a day or so. Yeah, exactly.
Oof. Um,
Did anyone notice the voice? Did it sound like any particular person? I heard rumors here and there that it's may sound like someone. Any guesses?
I think all of our chat GPT slash voice assistant fantasies are based on the movie Her.
yeah,
That's where it all became, main. I don't want to say mainstream, but became everybody got to know about how a voice assistant could be in the future.
right.
Hmm.
And
And basically the story comes to be that Scarlett Johansson was extremely angered by a particular voice called Sky. And let's just be honest about this. We all saw it, the 4.0 launch, and we all thought the same thing. It
mhm.
sounded insanely like her. And yeah, she basically lost her mind about it. And OpenAI has said that they will remove the Sky voice because the Sky voice was also used in the demo where Abbas, what you were talking about in terms of emotion, where they ask her
Hmm.
to tell a bedtime story and then ask her to dramatize it and ask her to dramatize it. And as it went up in pitches, it sounded more and more like her. So I totally agree that she has the right to be as angry as she is. But yeah, that I guess is just a thing we're going to keep seeing over time. And the US being the US, this will soon reach the courts, and then they'll decide on who can use and what can be used. But
But I wonder,
it was creepy.
it's an interesting argument, right? So just a little bit of background on this. I think OpenAI did approach her to see
I
if
heard
they,
the same
she
thing.
can voice for that, but she said no. She said that no, I'm not interested in this.
Right.
So then they hired someone else to do the job, and if it's someone else who sounds like her that you've
Hmm.
already paid for, then from a legal perspective, I
Yeah.
don't think you have anything to sort of be afraid of, because you've paid a
Yeah.
voice actor for something that
Right.
they've sort of, so I don't understand. I get it why she's angry. I get it that it sounds very
Right.
much like her,
Right.
but I don't know why OpenAI had to remove it out of it, because
So
if they've legally paid someone to do that.
Then yeah, that's it. That's it.
no,
No,
but
but
let me be devil's advocate here. They've met up with her. She has said no. They are trying to leverage her voice. Scarlett Johansson for the next like 20 years is going to be the voice of female AI, because that's what's going to come to our minds. And as AI gets more popular and as more comparisons are made, even people who haven't watched the movie are going to know about it. So she understands the power of her voice and she has said no. Now, if you go and leverage someone else's voice to garner that same attention, yeah, I agree. She has the right to be pissed and they should take it off.
yeah, like in the future, if if they uh, approach the Rock, it's like, hey, we
Right.
want your voice, and the Rock says no, but then they go find someone who sounds like him just to get that kind of thing,
I
and
agree.
then uses it, and then says that, hey, he just sounds like him, we can't do anything about him, but is the intention behind it, and that
Mhm.
needs to be seen, like how they can
So
go with it.
look, I'm not arguing with the ethical bit of it. I'm just talking
Mm.
about it from a legal perspective. They didn't have to do it, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
they did
yeah, yeah,
fine.
exactly, yeah.
So
I don't
that's what I
know
was saying.
where it will, like, where they will draw the line, because they cannot just keep on doing this for other, say, celebrity
Exactly.
voices.
And the thing is, it's all about one of two things. One, when does everyone start jumping on the bandwagon? And it takes one majorly famous person to do it for some exorbitant amount of money and everyone will jump on board. Or the other side, being the US, it'll go to court. The court will have a ruling, and that'll be the rule for a long time to come. That's the only way I see it sort of going, because there is no other way. Someone has to step in between and set a precedent. In this particular case, I like that OpenAI set the precedent that, okay, we went this way, it wasn't great, let's move away again. The leveraging of celebrity voices is like their faces, is like their whatever auras, everything. It just you can't just do it, and it's the US. They're all jumpy about this stuff. So
What happens 20 years later when, we've
mm,
started seeing Sora or, generated people?
mm.
What happens 20 years later when everything is generated?
At that point, there will be new things where Sora will have a particular lady or a particular guy, and that, or a particular character, and it'll get famous. And that character, there'll be some sort of legalization in place that will lock that character's voice and looks and whatever. This is the birth of it all. If we go into the what ifs, we'll be here until, I don't know, episode 120. It's one of those things where you just have to wait and watch, or
I
be on
just
the.
look, I don't think it's something you can contain. I really don't
Oh,
think it's
I
something you can
agree with you.
contain.
I agree with you 100%. But someone will try to, because someone will try to go the other side, and they would be like, "Oh, it's I can prove that this is 96.4% like Scarlett Johansson's voice, but it's not Scarlett Johansson's voice, so you can't sue me." Like, that's what I'm saying. All these discussions have to happen.
Mm.
It's just a matter of time before one and the other leads to a domino effect. And yes, you're right. It can't be contained. Like, I think I told you guys this the other day. Sometimes when I need to convert an audio file where I've recorded a voiceover and I'm lazy, I'll just send it onto one of those free online softwares and then just download it, and like, boom, 3 seconds later I've done my conversions. But lately I've been like, damn, I'm just giving some random website my voice, and like, let's just be honest, I
Mm.
really like my voice, and I don't know where that's gone. And I've done it for years. So and I pretty much use the same first two links that show up on Google. So those guys have my voice with, and somewhere in their legalities, it's probably I've signed it over to them,
Yeah.
and they have like a
Oh yeah, for
decade
sure.
worth of my voice. So it's one of those things where you didn't think of these things until this existed. So yeah,
Yeah,
so that
it's like no one knows what will
yeah,
happen in the future. We have to kind of see and wing
yeah.
it. No one knows because we haven't seen this, you know.
There's just too many variables.
Yeah, too many
And
layers.
speaking of variables, next up we have Gemini. This happened at Google's I/O. Abbas, why don't you just tell us a bit about what the event had in store?
Sure. So traditionally, Google I/O reveals a new version of Android. But
Mhm.
again, AI being the buzzword this time around, it was all about AI, whether it was in Google Photos, whether it was updates to the Gemini app itself, language models, etc., etc. Google was all about showing their AI chops. What I found very interesting was that at the moment, this is all vaporware because Google hasn't released anything yet. I mean, everything that
Right.
they've shown is going to be coming out either sometimes in the future or way in the future, or we don't know when in the future.
Abbas, I'm sorry. Can you just tell me what did you just say? Vaporware?
Yeah, vaporware, right? Muff,
Yeah,
do you know what
vaporware.
vaporware is?
Yeah,
Sam, do you know what vaporware is?
vaporware,
I can
shovelware.
pretty much put it together. Like,
Wait, what? Now,
it's
what's the
nothing
other
that's
word you said,
vapor.
Moose?
Shovelware. Shovel.
Shovelware.
Yeah.
Like, as in like software, bloatware, that ware?
So, vaporware is basically things that you show that might or might not be released. They're not real right now. So they could be like 2 years into the future, 5 years into the future. And even then, they might come out, might not come out.
That's cool. You learn
Yeah,
something new
that's
every day.
vaporware.
Yay. Okay, so carrying on. Vaporware.
Showing my age over here, but sure.
Go for
So,
it.
yeah, but I think the most interesting vaporware demo of the evening was Project Astra.
Right. Yeah. Project Astra was definitely the coolest thing. And for those listening or watching, I'll just kind of take you through what they showed. So there's a video where it's kind of two hands holding a smartphone and the camera comes on, and Project Astra is being told to look for an audio device, which it does with a speaker ahead. And just by drawing an arrow on the screen, the person asks what a part of the speaker is, where it replies saying it's a tweeter. And then it kind of goes around the room showing more things, recognizing more things. But one of the coolest things that happened in this video, and Abbas, you liked this the most, and this is a feature for you, so why don't you tell us what it was?
So basically, as she kind of goes around, okay, I'm going to mention that at the end of it. Now she's just looking at some
Okay.
code and she's asking some questions on analyzing this code. Then she moves on to the Schrodinger's cat video and stuff like that.
Right.
All the while she's doing all that video, she asks the assistant, do you know where my glasses are? Even though she never really pointed her glasses on that video. And the
Right.
assistant actually answers that her glasses were next to the apple that was sitting on the table. To me, that is just brilliant. I mean, she didn't have to intentionally point at it, and it just recognized it from the background,
Yeah.
just moving
Yeah.
forward. It just knew that it saw a pair of glasses sitting next to an apple, and it did that then.
So background for listeners and viewers here. Just something you all might know about Abbas, because all of us do. Abbas has about 18,000 pairs of glasses, because Abbas loses his glasses all the time or breaks them, and he literally has a pair of glasses on every second step of the way. He's putting on a second pair right now, but the man has glasses for his various cars, for his offices, for his houses. So this was an crucial part, absolutely crucial part of Google Astra, which Abbas will be using. But what do you guys think? Starting with Sam. Sam, thoughts on something like this? Creepy, good? Give me your thoughts.
Again, it all comes down to how this technology is used, right? It can
No,
be
no, no,
extremely creepy,
no.
but for me,
Don't. Yeah.
I like the best part in the video with when she was showing. It was basically, I think, like a software, and it was showing latency between the server and this part basically. And she
Right.
basically just drew the arrow saying, "How can I, improve the performance?" Like that's not even an object; it's understanding such a complex scenario and then saying,
Mm-hmm.
oh, why don't you introduce a cache? That was
Right.
like, wow, especially if you take language out of the equation, it just makes it so much more accessible to so many people. You could literally draw something and say, how do I fix this? It was really
Right.
cool.
Mof, what do you think?
Uh, I I was going to say that this technology needs to be in glasses, but then she showed that they
Yeah.
were as part of the glasses. And then I thought that, oh, this is going to get banned in schools. Because if student gets it, everyone will cheat. Like, hey, what's the answer to this equation? Done.
No, but I think that so I was actually asking my mum about this. My mum is used to be the vice principal of a school here in the UAE, and I was asking her what her opinions are about these things, and she was saying that she doesn't know who and when, but the education system is going to need to be reformed on such a drastic scale, because with such technologies coming in place, it's going to be impossible to control, but also there's going to be an explosion of learning, right? So if you look at the
Mm.
social media era and where how much we all have learned with these random facts we learn on socials and stuff like that, there's also going to be an explosion of education. So not always a bad thing. But Abbas, asking you, what do you think? Google Glasses are alive again? You think so? You think that
Looks
was the idea of showing it?
Looks like it. Definitely looks like a future project from Google. Again, vaporware, just to sort of, give a little bit more context on that. But
Yep.
coming to Muf's question about this in the education,
Mm-hmm.
and I think your mom is absolutely right about a reform
Mm-hmm.
needed in education. But then think about it this way, right? I mean, and I'm pretty sure I've used this analogy before as well, where back in the day before calculators were invented, people used to use their brain to solve math puzzles.
Right.
Now you've got calculators to help you do that, and education allows you to do that. There's no
Hmm.
restriction on using that. Similarly, like, why do we need to figure out what the exponential value of f over 142 divided by crap is when you can literally get an answer in a second and put our creative juices to more use into figuring something else out versus these equations that you know
Very
ChatGPT can
interesting
answer or these
perspective.
classes
Mm.
can answer. So
Very
But
interesting
these will just
perspective.
become and like 2 plus 2 in a calculator, and sure,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can do it manually, but
but the same thing applies to why do we need to learn the maths table when you can just use the uh, calculator, right?
I
Like
don't
you
think kids nowadays need to move. Like my
you
kids
know
don't.
e- oh, okay. I mean, back when I was in school,
Yeah,
calculators
I
were
did
like
too.
straight up banned in schools, even though we had it, and we still learned the maths table.
Right.
And to me, I was like, it was very hard. I'm very weak in maths. I was like, I don't want to do this, but I still learned
Right.
it.
So
Tell me.
Can I?
okay,
Sam,
we all have our fingers up.
Sam, go
All right,
ahead.
Sam,
Yeah.
go ahead first.
Okay, kind of from what Abbas said and Mufi, I don't think it's necessarily the case of knowing the answer, but it's like kind of going through the process of learning how to do something,
Yeah,
what it
exactly.
teaches you. So
Hmm.
it's not about the
Exactly.
answer, it's what your brain has to figure out or do in order to the byproduct is yes, you found the answer, but I think
Hmm.
it's a different.
Yeah, it's the principles and the knowledge that you learn on how you're solving
Yes.
it, and
Yeah.
that forms the basis of your knowledge of maths, let's say,
Right. So
which you can
Mm.
okay.
solve other
So
things.
now this is going on to a massive tangent, but like let's carry on for a second because this is really interesting. But the now here's the thing, right? There's two very different thought processes which can also be brought about to two very different systems of schooling, right? So when it comes to, let's say, Western, right? Now because we're in the Middle East, I'm going to break it down into sort of Western and Eastern. But Western education was always very application based, where calculators were there like from, I don't know, fourth or fifth grade. You had a calculator on the side. Whereas when I say we, I mean people like me and Muf who learned in the Indian system of education. The, the it was all about, no, calculators are really bad. Learn how to do this. The end result was the same. And to Abbas's point, we answer certain questions now knowing that math. Well, I think what Abbas is trying to say is we'll soon be able to go further because that basic math is not needed because you will not.
Mm.
I'm not getting my point across correct, but I think what I'm trying to say is, okay, let me explain in numbers. Let's assume we were answering question number 2 by knowing question number 1, because question number 1 was so basic that you could either know it or you could do a calculator. I think now we'll be answering question number 4 because 1, 2, 3 are just going to be so much easier because like, oh, everyone has
Redundant.
access to AI. It'll be redundant to know that.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe there'll be a certain form of education which will need you to know it. But Move, to answer your point, hopefully in the future, you as a person who sucked at math will not, they'll be like, okay, he sucks at math. Just let him use his AI. It's okay. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
No, but that doesn't solve the problem that I suck at maths. If
But-
I was a student,
Right.
right? If I was a student in 9th grade and I'm terrible at maths, and they go like, "Oh, he's like his brain cannot compute maths. Let him use AI." I will use AI, get the answer, and I will move on. But I've not
Right.
learned. Like
But-
I've not learned that knowledge that I'm paying the school to teach me.
But that's not something that you need to learn, right? It's kind of like at the end of the day, if you want to write a good story, do you really need to know the spelling of every single word?
Absolutely.
Do you?
Exactly.
No, but maths. I'm specifically stop talking about maths here
Yeah.
because maths is such a found. I can't believe I'm saying this because I hated maths. I don't know what theorem is, but maths now I realize is such a foundational aspect of everything that you do that you should have the basics done and
Okay,
you should know it. You should have it.
so let me
covered.
just jump in here for a second because producer Amara has a very good point, and I'd just like producer Amara to know that producer Amara, you have 2 episodes left before you come onto the show because that's the promise you made to us. But producer Amara says kids are learning to code now from grade 1. They're learning to come up with a way to get a computer to solve their problem. The point here, I think, is that the problem itself is not as basic as it used to be because we've advanced that basic level. So I understand what you're trying to say. You keep saying that you should know how to learn. I have some really bad news, Mof. This was brainwashing that Indian schools did to justify the fees they charged for the shitty education system that it was. So the thing is, now you will have the choice because I had always known, and I mean always, like since I was like 11 years old, that I will not need advanced mathematics, physics, science, any of that in my life. Still did it till bloody 11th grade, right? What I'm trying to say is hopefully when AI comes along into the schooling system, it will push away a lot of these sort of unnecessary levels needed because you'll be able to diversify faster. Like if a kid is right now learning to code in, I don't know, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, there's a new breed of education taking place. And I think that's where sort of the whole issue stands, that it's just outside of a definition that we all grew up with, you know?
Yep, absolutely. And it's not happening in classrooms, it's happening on TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
100%.
absolutely. Like just the other day, I was telling my wife, I hate, like for my friends who have young children now at the 2-3 age gap, I was like, I don't want to buy these kids anything apart from books and stuff to learn. So I happened to go online. And I could not believe the amount of basic coding toys that existed, which teach children that on does this, off does this, and so on and so forth. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Whereas for us, this was robotics in 10th grade. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it definitely has a place for itself. But that riveting discussion aside, we have to move on because our podcasts are getting longer by the day and I'm loving it, but I don't know who else is. So let's move on to our next topic. So next up, I wanted to quickly jump into coming back to what we initially started this conversation with usefulness of this AI in our lives. And Abbas, you and me recently tried out, I don't know what the exact terminology is, but we tried out Galaxy
Transcends
AI's
Galaxy AI.
call translation feature,
Live
right?
translation feature or something along
Live
those lines.
translate.
Yeah.
Thank you, producer Amara. But basically, what we did was we called our colleague Mustafa, who speaks fluent Arabic, and we spoke to him in English. He spoke back to us in Arabic. And for people who are watching this on YouTube, we've got the video up here. And Abbas's question didn't exactly get translated, and Mustafa's reply was, we know what he ended up wanting to say. So, for example, the translation read, I'm from Abu Dhabi and my friends are there, or something on those lines. And what he meant to say was, I'm going to Abu Dhabi with my friends. We got the point of it, but it was nowhere close. And I think, Abbas, you got a bit overwhelmed by the fact that it's like talking while you're talking and there's like so many voices involved. So tell me your experience. What did you think? Do you think that this AI is there? And I know we'll come down to its first generation, but what was the experience like?
No, absolutely. Look, it wasn't an experience that I would even remotely consider in using for anything official or
Okay.
anything that's more than fun. I mean, it's
Okay.
fine as a fun thing, but I would not use it for anything above and beyond that. It got the point across. You're absolutely right. But then if I spoke to Mustafa in sign language, I'm sure I could have gotten my point across as well. So it's there. These are the very much building blocks, foundation blocks of
Yeah.
it. But hopefully it gets better than that.
To be fair to Galaxy AI, and not shitting on it, but the Arabic is also a very diverse language. There's so
Yeah.
many dialects and so many different words and so on. So I'm sure it'll get there. But listen, I would like to hope that there'll be a day where you call and when you talk in English, it's so fast that the person's already hearing your Arabic translation, and when they talk, it's almost a second later you're listening to them. Like it'll be a faster process. Whereas
Yep.
here in our little video we put up on our Instagram at tbreak.com, it's one of those things where it's so slow that I'm just like, yeah, it didn't really.
See, there are two things needed for that, right? One is you need to compute locally for all of this, which which Samsung says it's doing already. And the
Okay.
second is how much compute power do you have to do it faster than what it's supposed to be. So if it's already being done locally, that just means that these processors on which it's running aren't fast enough to do it in real time. And processors get better, faster, quicker, smaller, cheaper, cheaper pretty much by the day. So
Right.
we're there. It's just a matter of, okay, fine, we have to wait a little bit longer. It'll happen. I don't know if you ever used Google Translate where you can talk into the phone and
Yeah.
show that to someone. I felt that was faster than this. And even though that was using cloud, I felt that was faster, probably because you've got more compute power on the cloud versus
Right.
on this tiny phone of yours. So yeah, just a matter of time.
Fair. I think then that would lead me to another question since we discussed Samsung. Now, there are rumors that OpenAI is in heavy talks to integrate ChatGPT in some shape or form with Siri, right? And seeing all of the ChatGPT 4.0 capabilities and seeing how shit Siri is, do we think that that's a do we think that that's a good merger to take place? If it does, do you think it would be the right move? Do you think it would be better than where Galaxy AI has started off?
120%, because the technology is not only leaps and just years ahead than what Apple has to offer, but it doesn't put the onus on Apple if something goes wrong. Apple can always say, "Hey, this was not us. This was OpenAI's, version of it." So for me, if I was Apple, I would jump on it. I would license this in a heartbeat.
And I think Scarlett Johansson would say okay to Apple instead of OpenAI. I think she'd be like, I'm okay with it now. We've reconciled.
Maybe Apple's the one who's already voiced her thing in new Siri, and hey, maybe there's an agreement that we don't know that's going on.
True. That is true. That maybe that's why OpenAI backed off so easily. Because Apple Daddy showed up and Apple was like, excuse me, bought this voice
How much you
already.
want?
How much you want? How much you want? We'll buy OpenAI right now. But listen, I think that in my mind, Siri is this empty vessel right now. Like it's just so dumb that it needs the brains. Like it's like a robot with the brain not put in yet. It
It
has
She's
turns
like
my
me in
lights
maths
on and
class.
off, all right,
it
and
is like
it
Muff
tells
in
me what
maths
the
class.
weather is.
But I think because they are such a good fit, because today, if that integration happened, I, without spending a dirham, would have full integration across my house. Full. I have
Mm.
my home pods are ready, my laptops, my
Yep.
Apple devices, my watch, everything is ready. They just have to add the brains in, and poof, we've got like
You know,
the best.
you know what's
But
sad about this? Sorry, Muf, go ahead, and then I'll come
no,
back
no,
to it.
go for it. I was just making a
I was,
random comment about Apple being Apple.
I was, uh, I was going to say that. Look, what's so sad about this is Siri was the first voice assistant on the phone
Right.
before
Mm.
Google, before anything
Hmm.
else, and that was during Jobs' time. And
Yeah.
I can bet you that if he was still running the show right now, OpenAI would have been part of Apple.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Mm.
100%. I think that um, and we've discussed this before, and I don't want to go onto a massive tangent on this matter, but the Apple has gone down a certain path of giving customers what they want, which customers are right now loving. But that has come at the cost of a lot of, I'm not going to say stagnant technology, but none of that Apple breakthrough that we used to
Yep.
enjoy every few years. And I don't think that's ever going to come back. I think like that's over
Agreed.
and done with. But yeah, Siri could have been something. Siri could have been something for sure. All right, then wrapping up the AI and these big tech company conversations for the day comes Microsoft, who also had another launch. They came around with new surfaces. Let's just be honest, they looked really nice. Abbas, you can tell us a few more details in a minute. And they also came out with the creepiest feature ever called Recall. So while I will rant about that feature in just a minute, Abbas, can you tell us what else they had before we jump into Recall?
Sure. As far as devices are concerned, we're getting a new version of Surface Pro and Surface Laptop. They're dropping the name after Surface Pro. So it's just called Surface Pro now. It's no longer Surface Pro 9, 10, 11, whatever it
Oh,
is. You get OLED screens now, and both of these are based on Qualcomm processors instead of Intel, which Microsoft traditionally sort of stuck with. And the reason behind that is AI and battery life. Those are the two areas where these ARM processors really excel at. So that's what Microsoft chose to go with for this time around to showcase their new devices.
so
But yeah,
if I could just ask on the processors, could you, in let's say in Intel terms, tell me where the Snapdragon X Elite and X Plus come in? Are we talking like a Core i5, i3,
I
i7?
would assume so. Look, I haven't seen benchmarks, but I would assume they are around Core i5 levels, which for
Okay,
most people is completely fine.
of
Where they
course.
will excel at would be with AI capabilities. Neural
Right.
engines and stuff like that are supposedly a lot faster than the previous one. Now, Microsoft says that the Surface Laptop is 86% faster than Laptop 5, along
Okay.
with the longest battery, which obviously is what ARM brings to the table. I am quite excited to test these new devices out. I'm also excited to see what Intel does next, because I mean, this is an existential threat for Intel, right? With Microsoft,
Right.
Intel, it's always been a marriage of these two. And
Mm.
if Microsoft is choosing Qualcomm on this side, where does this leave Intel? I'm pretty sure they will come back in full force with it.
Okay.
But let's move on to the feature that I think is pretty impressive. You're not such a fan of.
Okay. So Sam, Muff, do you guys know what we're talking about?
No.
Yes, sort of. Yeah.
Okay. For Sam, Recall is basically a feature that when you activate, it will record everything that you do on your laptop, everything, anything, wherever you are on your laptop. And then one day you were browsing and you saw a black sweater. And then it's like 5 weeks later, and you're talking to your wife and you're like, oh, I saw this black sweater in real life. I should have picked it up that day. Damn it. You can go on to Recall and search black sweater, and it'll find that black sweater for you. And you now have your black sweater.
I'll give another
Oh,
example of this to Sam. If you
creepy.
are looking through a presentation of someone and you're looking at different graphs and stuff, and let's just say 3 weeks afterwards, you remember, wait a minute, what was that presentation which had the yellow horizontal bar graph on it? It would pick that up and bring you straight back to that.
Oof.
I think it's
What is it?
phenomenal.
I think
When
it's
it
creepy.
goes, when it recalls, does it show you the image of
Yes,
it? Just the image?
yes.
Or
It
And then I'm
does
shows you.
it
assuming it
take
can
your
take you to the
windows
document.
back?
No. It's not taking Windows back. It's just pulling up that, whatever data it is that you are
But
looking
what
for.
form of data is it? Like what form of media is it? Is it like a JPG or a video?
No,
Can you
No,
it
no,
takes
no,
encrypt
no,
you
it?
back
no,
to
no.
that link. Let's say you saw a link. It can take you to the link.
Move, it is recording your screen, videoing your screen, and it's recognizing objects on it. And then using AI, it's putting them into different buckets and places. So when you search for it, it will know at this particular time, this is the app that you were using, this is what you were looking at, and be able to bring all of that to you in front of you, hopefully very, very quickly. And Danish is shaking his head because he doesn't think this is a good feature. But
It's
guess what, Danish? Do you know what this is? Do you know what I'm holding right now? Do you know what this has? All of my history, whether it
no,
was
but
what I was
no,
shopping, browsing,
no,
watching, listening, talking, it has all of that in here.
no. But it's not. It's not the
Now
same
it's just
thing.
giving you the
It's
option to utilize that rather than let a company only utilize it. Ah?
That's a very interesting way
Ah?
of putting it forward. That is a very interesting way of putting it
yeah.
forward. But I don't know. I don't know why I'm so creeped out by this because like in my mind, it's like I've always looked at a phone, but now I feel like someone's looking back at me through the phone. Like it's
The
so
phone
creepy.
is always looking back at you,
Yeah,
dude.
but
You
like
just
now I
need
know
to
it is. Now I
accept
know
it.
it is.
Accept
No,
it. It's
no,
always
now I
looking
know.
at you.
You stare
No,
at the phone and the phone stares back at you.
right,
Yep.
right. That's so creepy. I'm genuinely like creeped out by this. Like it's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe now Sam saying this like put a bit of thought in my head, but like it's super creepy. And I know what
Just
you guys are saying. All that information is already going. And no, I'm not worried about porn. That's not what I'm worried about. It's just it's so creepy. The fact that they're like, we know, like we're recording everything openly. You know what I'm trying to say? Like at least
It's the screen
Danish.
recording part that's kind of creepy, but that depends on if Microsoft has access to it,
no, they don't.
which
It's
they
all local.
probably
It's all local.
they will have it. They will
Yes,
have it.
of course they will, and we'll find out in a few years that they
Yeah.
did. But Apple bringing back with 117.5 update, they're bringing back some random old
Yep.
photos.
Deleted images. Yeah.
Ridiculous,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
I don't
But
know.
look, you just
Yeah.
need to realize this simple fact. You're not looking at the phone. The phone is looking at you.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Yes, that's what I'm
You're not
saying.
looking at the phone. The phone is looking at you. That's
Yes,
it.
I
That's
know.
just it. And I signed that up the minute I picked up my first smartphone. I'm happy with it. I've made my peace with it.
Wait, producer Amara is again talking, but she will not come on and talk. But anyway, like when I was reading the book Pachinko, and then the first recommendation at Apple TV was the Pachinko TV series I had never heard about. The World is a Black Mirror episode. She is
Yep.
absolutely right. I agree
Yep.
with her 100%. I just wish they can do that whole, that Black Mirror episode with the cameras where your eyes are the
the
cameras and you have a little
memory.
tracker in
Yes.
your ear.
Yes.
You can like scroll everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
If recall reaches there, I'm in. I'm in. Just I give up. Then I just give up. The machines are gonna take over.
Well, it needs
But
to
fair,
start somewhere.
I
Yeah.
guess, right? I
Yep.
guess. Fair. Anyway, that was this very creepy ending to this, or at least creepy for me. That was a creepy ending to this episode. I thank everyone for being here. For people listening, we are available across all platforms. We are on Spotify, on Podbean, on YouTube, on socials, and everywhere we are at tbreak.com. That is tbreakdotcom. I would like to thank my colleagues, and Abbas has to leave. That's been called.
That's his cue.
So, so thanks everyone for being here, and yeah, we'll see you guys at the next one.